Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to Easy Mathematics. We thank God today is Friday. Today we want to look at rigid motion. And under rigid motion, we want to look at reflection. Now, reflection here, we are coming to deal with the graph book and we'll be asked to plot point and also reflect them. So let's quickly go through what a reflection is and the forms or types of reflection that we have. So a reflection is the image you see when you look in a mirror. So when you look in the mirror, the image you see is your reflection. So let's say if we have a mirror here and we have an object to be here. Let's say we have an object here. Now you notice that this being the object, since it is looking in a mirror, the image of this mirror will be opposite the object. So we are going to get the image somewhere here. Let's say here. And this becomes the image. Now, we will notice also that anytime we look in a mirror, the distance from the mirror to the object, the distance here, the perpendicular distance from the mirror to the object is the same distance we have here. So the distance from the mirror, this being the mirror, the distance that the object is having from the mirror to the object is the same distance we are going to get from the mirror or away the mirror to the what? Image. Using a mirror, we are going to say that. So when we say reflection, reflection is the image you see when you look in a mirror. So if this is my mirror and I'm an object here and I'm looking in the mirror, my object will be opposite me. And the distance from the mirror to me is the same distance away from the mirror to the what? Image. So we apply the same principles or the same theory or idea in reflection. Now, when it comes to reflection, we have four types of reflection. We have reflection in the x-axis, reflection in the y-axis, reflection also in line x is equal to k and y is equal to k. But today we are going to look at the main two, which is what we are to talk about. We are going to look at reflection in the x-axis and reflection in the y-axis. Now, reflection in the x-axis is the same as reflection in the line y is equal to 0. The line y is equal to 0. But first of all, since we don't know what the x-axis is, what the y-axis is, let's try to know what the x-axis is here. Now, the x-axis on the graph, we will move to the graph and we will see the x and the y-axis. But when you take your graph book, all the horizontal lines that you see in your graph books are the x-axis. So with the x-axis, we have something like this, which is a horizontal line. So all the horizontal lines that you see in your graph book are the what? X-axis. So anytime we are being asked to do reflection in the x-axis, then it means we are going to take the x-axis as our mirror line. So if I am an object and I'm here and I'm looking into the mirror, which is my x-axis, where will my image be? My image will be opposite me. So if I am here, then my image is also what? Here. The distance from the mirror to me, the object, it is the same distance from the mirror to the what? Image. Just as we've explained here. Good. Now, on the x-axis, we take the x-axis to be the number line. Now you all bear witness that on the number line, we have an origin of O. And all the numbers on your right, from the 0 to your right, all the numbers takes positive. all the numbers from 0 to your right are positive, and all the numbers from 0 to your left are also what? Negative. So how we arrange numbers on the number line is the same way we arrange on the x-axis. So you have your origin, which is the O. All the numbers on your left are x-axis, and all the numbers on your right, sorry, are the positive numbers, and all the numbers on the left are the what? Negative numbers. So if you are being asked to reflect in the x-axis, then we are going to take the x-axis, which is the horizontal line, as our mirror line. And know that if you have a mirror, the image is opposite the object, and the distance from the mirror to the object is the same distance away from the mirror to the image. Then we have reflection in the y-axis. And the y-axis, reflecting an image in the y-axis is the same as reflection in the line x is equal to 0. In the line x is equal to 0. So you can see that y-axis takes x is equal to 0, and the x-axis takes y is equal to what? 0. So when you see line x is 0, it means reflect in the y-axis. Now, what is the y-axis? Also on the graph, you will see that you have vertical lines, and all the vertical lines are the y-axis. So we have something that looks like this on the graph, and they are what? Vertical. Now also we see this to be a number line. So we can say we have our origin O. Now if I turn this number line this way, you will see that this is going to look like the x, which is the number line we have here. So all the numbers here are going to be what? Negative. And all the numbers here are going to be what? Positive. So on the y-axis, from the origin downwards, all the numbers there are negative. Sorry, if we are to turn it this way, sorry. So all the numbers here are going to be what? That's from the origin downwards are going to be negative numbers. And also from the origin upwards are going to be what? Positive numbers. So these things, we have to take note of them when we are labeling or drawing our x and y axis. So what we have to know is that on the y-axis, from the 0 downwards, all the numbers are positive, and from the 0 downwards, the numbers are negative, and the 0 upwards, the numbers are positive. Then we have our x-axis. Also know that all the horizontal lines are the x-axis, and the vertical lines are the y-axis. So these are the two reflections that we will talk about today. But there are something we have to note when it comes to rigid motion. When it comes to rigid motion. So we have here, note. The first one I'm going to say is that consider the given scale in the question to determine the position of the x and y axis. When you are dealing or when you are doing the rigid motion, whether reflection or any other one, you have to consider the given scale. The scale could be given in 2 centimeters to 2 units, or 2 centimeters to 1 unit. Some could be 2 centimeters to 5 units. So we have to always consider the scale that has been given in the question. So consider the given scale in the question to determine the position of the x and the y axis we are going to draw, because all the vertical axis or all the vertical lines are y axis, all horizontal lines are x axis. So we have to know the scale that they've given us so that we can do what? do the graph. Now look at this. 2 centimeters to 2 units. Now this 2 centimeters here, on the graph, you are going to get 2 centimeters from one thick line to another thick line. On the graph, you will notice that, we'll go to the graph and you'll get to know what I'm talking about. So on the graph, you will see that we have thin lines, thick lines, and very thin ones. We are dealing with the thick and the thin, not the very thin. The thick and the thin. So now, when we say 2 centimeters, it is from one thick line to another thick line. So from one thick line to the next thick line are 2 centimeters. Then when we say 2 units, it means the intervals or the difference you have there should be in 2s or difference of 2s. So if you see 2 centimeters to 2 units, it means label from one thick line to another thick line. So if this is 2, then the next one is going to be what? 4, because it is in difference of what? 2. Then when you also see 2 centimeters to 1 unit, the centimeters here, the 2 centimeters here, it means from one thick line to another thick line. And to 1 unit, the difference are what? 1, or the difference is 1. So if I move from 3, I'm going to where? 4. If I move from 5, where am I going to? 6. That is difference of what? 1. So we have to also consider the scale in the question. Then the last one. When an interval is given in a set notation form, first list the members. Okay? First list the members somewhere so that you will know the numbers we need on the graph. So, what is a set notation? Set notation is used to describe sets. And this was taught in Form 1 under sets. So you have negative 10 as an example. Negative 10 less or equal to x less or equal to 10. When you have this type of scale or this type of interval goes with a scale 2 centimeters to 2 units. So on the graph, it means this x represents all the values on the x-axis, and this y represents all the values on the y-axis. Remember that we said on the x-axis, from the origin to your left are negative numbers. So if you are listing the members of this less or equal to means this number is included. This less or equal to also means this 10 is included. So on the y-axis, I am going to label from negative 10 up to positive 10. So remember that this number goes with this 2 centimeters to 2 units. So we have negative 10, negative 8, negative 6, negative 4, negative 2. Then there comes my origin, which is O. Then I go again, positive 2, 4, 6, and 8. So you see that on my x-axis, I have from negative 10 to 10. And this scale or these intervals works with 2 centimeters to 2 units. So you have this as negative 10 less or equal to y less or equal to 10. And this works for all the values on the y-axis. So you see that on the y-axis, we have from the origin downwards are what? Negative. So we want from negative 10 up to what? 10. Because this side are positive. So if you are labeling, you have negative 8, negative 6, negative 4, up to 0. Then we go for the positive side. Then we can also be given the scale, the interval in this way. With this one, this goes with the scale 2 centimeters to 1 unit. 2 centimeters to 1 unit. So you have negative 5. This time, we are starting from negative 5 on our very first one, which is this one. So we have to take notes when the intervals is given in a set notation form. List the members somewhere so that you can be able to know the values and how you are going to do it. Now let's visit our graph and see a question. solve a question on how to reflect a point in the x-axis and the y-axis. But remember this, when you have an image, when you have an object and you are reflecting it in the x-axis, you take the x-axis as your mirror line and the image is opposite the object. So if my image is here, then I am going to do what? Get my object. If my object is here, I'm going to get the image here. Also, using the y-axis as your mirror line, if your object is here, then it's going to be at the opposite side of it. And know that the distance from the mirror to the object is the same distance away from the mirror to the image. And when you are reflecting the x-axis, take the x-axis as your mirror line, same as your y-axis as the mirror line. Now when it comes to this one, we have to also know how to plot our points. So when we get to the graph, we will know how we are to plot points. Let's see how we can answer question on reflection in the x-axis and the y-axis. Thank you. Okay, so this is what we have here on our graph. Now before we look at the question, let's come to the graph. Now you see that on the graph you have tick, teen, tick, teen, tick, in that order. So the scale that we talked about, the 2 centimeters, is from one tick line to another tick line. So from this tick line to this tick line is 2 centimeters. So we are going to do the marking on this. And when you come to the horizontal two, you have this tick line, this tick line. So that is the 2 centimeters they are talking about. So let's see, questions on reflection. The first one, using a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit. So we have to consider the scale, 2 centimeters to 1 unit. Draw x and y axis. Remember, the x is the horizontal and the y is the vertical. So draw x and y axis. On the x axis, mark from -5 to 5. So on the x axis, you should get from -5 and +5. Now you remember that on the board we said that if you have an origin, from the origin to your left are the negative, and from the origin to the right are your positive. So I have -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, and this could be my origin. So I can take this as my x-axis. So I have my, this, you see, these are my x-axis. These ones, they are the x-axis. So if I'm marking from -5 to 5, so let's see, if I start -5, let's take this line. If I take this as my x-axis and I start -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, then this is going to be my 0 on the x-axis. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have from here to here is from -5 to 5. Now let's see also for the y-axis. And it says that on the y-axis, you are marking from -6 to 6. So you know that on the x-axis I have -5, -5. So now let's see for the y-axis, -6. The -6 is downwards and the positive is upwards. So let's count and see if we can get -6 to the origin and from the origin to positive what? 6. So we have -6, -5. I'm doing it 6, 5 because you can see that you have centimeters, 2 centimeters to 1 unit. So -5, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, I have 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on my y-axis, I have -6 from here to here is 0. Then 0 from here is what? 6. Then on the y-axis, I have -5. So I'll mark here as my what? Origin. which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which are all negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which are all positive. So we draw our x and y axis, which the question has given us. So we have this as our y axis, sorry, and we have this as our x axis. Remember, when you are doing graph, it is not advisable to use the pen, because with the pen you can't clean when you make a mistake. That is why we always use the pencil, so that we can erase when we make a mistake. So now let's label the point of intersection where the y and the x axis meet. We name it origin. So this is our y axis and this is our x axis as we have it there. So we have this side. When we were learning on the board, we said from the origin to your right are all positive, and the scale is 2 centimeters to 1 unit. So 2 centimeters from one tick line to another tick line, another tick line, another tick, another tick, another tick. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then tick line, another tick line, another tick line, another tick line, another tick. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the numbers here are negative, so we just bring our negative sign in front of it. Then on the y-axis, from the origin downwards, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have all the numbers as negative. So negative 2, negative, 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 negative. Then we have this all as positive. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, we are done drawing the x and y axis. We've marked the scale that they've given us and also the intervals. Now let's come to the next one. I says that plot the point A, 3, 1. You have the point A, 3, 1. Now let's use this opportunity to also know how to plot a point. Now to plot a point, the first number that you have here takes the x-axis, which is the x value. And the second number here is the y value, which also takes the y-axis. So if you are plotting, you start on the first number, which is the x-axis. So you have 3. Locate 3 on the x-axis. Now you can see that on the x-axis, we have negative 3 and we have another 3. Now this negative 3 is not the same as 3. So locate 3. We have 3 here. Then on the y-axis, we have a value for y, which is 1. So the y-axis that you have, locate 1. Where is 1? This is 1. Now look at where the 3 is. And look at where the 1 is. Move the 2 to meet. So if you move this one, you have this one moving, and where does it meet? It meets here. So where the 2 points meet, that is where is the what? A. You have 3, 1. And anytime you draw your graph, you have to label the coordinate or the vertices of the point. So we've labeled it there. Then you have B. B has been given as 1, 1. Remember, the first value takes the x, the second takes the y. So this time, on the x-axis, locate 1. This is 1. On the y-axis, locate 1. This is 1. So this is the 1. Where would the 2 meet? The 2 is going to meet here. Then we have another point here. And this point is B. What do we have? 1, 1. Then we have C. C has been given as 1, 5. The first value takes the x, the second takes the y. Always remember, don't interchange them. So the first is 1, locate 1. The second is the y-axis, locate 5. We have it here on the y-axis. So where would the 2 meet? This one meets the line here, this one meets it here. So you have this as your what? As your C, 1, 5. Then when you are done, what do? Join the point to form a triangle. So you have a triangle A, B, C. So we have the point A, B, C, and you join to form a triangle like this. So we have the triangle this way. Now we are done plotting triangle ABC. Remember, we are looking at rigid motion where we are going to move figures, either reflecting them or rotating them. So the next one, I. Draw the image triangle A1, B1, C1 of triangle ABC. So this time, we are coming to draw the image of this. Now this is the object. So we are coming to draw the image of this. But it says that the image of ABC should be under reflection in the x-axis, where A maps to A1. Now with this one, what they are trying to tell you is that the coordinates of A will be reflected to give you the coordinates of A1. So if A is being reflected in the x-axis, we are going to get the image of A, which is A1. So under reflection in the x-axis. So we are coming to take the x-axis as the mirror line. Now we have this line, this line. Which of them is the x-axis? The horizontal line is the x-axis. Remember on the board, we said the distance from the image, from the object to the mirror is the same distance from the mirror to the image. And the image is opposite the object. So if the object is here, where would the image be? The image will be at its opposite, since we are reflecting in the x-axis. So we are coming to use the point to do the image, to get the image. Now you count from the point here to the mirror. Start from the point. Always start from the point. So we have 1, 2. How many steps did we move from the point to the mirror line? We moved 2. So we count again. 1, 2. So the image of A will be found here because it is opposite it. And this will be A1. Then you write the coordinate. Start from the x-axis first. You have 3. Then you read the one on the y-axis. -1. You have it there. Then you do for B. 1, 2. 1, 2. We have the B here. So this is B1. We have 1. Read the x-axis first. Then -1. Then we also do for this point. You do for each of the points. Distance from the image point is the same as the distance from the mirror to the object. So you have here C. Count to the mirror. 1. Always start on the point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count again away from the mirror 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have it here. And this image is what? C1. And what do we have? Read from the x-axis. 1, -5. Then when you are done, you what? You join the new image that you have with the rule to form a triangle. Then you see that the image that we've drawn, this is the image of this. So if this is looking into the mirror, then this is going to be the what? The image. That is how we do when you are reflecting. And it is the same thing you do when you are also doing it in the y-axis. So if we are to rotate this in the y-axis or in the line x is equal to 0, you count from the what? The point to the mirror. So 1, 2, 1, 2. You are going to get the point here. 1, 2, 1, 2. You are going to get it here. From the point to the mirror line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have it here. Then you join the point to form a triangle. angle this way. So this is we've reflected it in the y-axis, and this we've reflected it in the x-axis. Thank you very much for staying tuned. We apologize for speeding up because of one or two emergencies we had to attend to. We'll meet, God willing, next week, and we'll talk about rotation, also a type, and we'll talk about reflection, x and y axis. We'll meet again, we'll talk about rotation. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Bye bye.